Hi guys, how's it going? My name is Liza. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a quick May wrap up. So I didn't read a whole bunch in May, unfortunately, but I did get to read two things. And so one of them I think you guys are already going to know about, and that's called The Minuteman, and it's by Greg Donahue. And I actually read this on Audible, and it was about 2 hours long. I ended up ultimately rating it 3 out of 5 stars. I did go into some depth about it on the reading vlog that I did for it, but I'll just go over it again just so that you guys can know. The story revolves around Nat Arno, who is part of the Minutemen, and he initially started off as a boxer, but he was at one point recruited while he was at the gym practicing boxing by a gang member. Initially, what the gang wanted him to do was smuggle alcohol into Newark and basically distribute it to a bunch of different speakeasies and underground bars and such. This was all during the Prohibition, of course, and so we are talking like 1930s type of a deal. But ultimately what ended up happening is the Prohibition ended, and then all the gang members found that they were out of work because they couldn't guard the trucks that would go into the city to deliver the alcohol illegally. So essentially what happened was the leader of the gang decided to get together Arno and a few other men and say, I have new jobs for you. And he ended up putting together the Minutemen, and he put Nat Arno in charge of them. And so that's how he ended up continuing being in the gang. Essentially what the Minutemen did is they would break up Nazi protests. They obviously did this illegally. They would bring like canisters of tear gas and throw them into the different buildings where the Nazis were having their rallies and speeches. The thought process was if they, break up enough of these rallies, then eventually the Nazis will leave and either go back to Germany or, at least leave Newark alone. And so it was this massive kind of battle going on between the Nazis and the Minutemen. And then the police are also in the mix as well, but they're trying to separate them so that like the Minutemen and the Nazis aren't killing each other. Anyway, it was an absolutely crazy book. Very good. It was very informative. I really enjoyed it. Initially, I was thinking about doing 4 out of 5 stars for it, but I ended up docking a star because I felt like it wasn't necessarily long enough to tell the entire story, and I also felt like it focused a little bit too much on the Minutemen as a group. I felt enough of a backstory on Nat Arno. There were parts of the book where he spent time in the military, and I really wanted to be able to read a little bit more about that. But I never really got the opportunity because so much of the book was filled up with all of the rallies that he went to in his time in the Minutemen. So I ended up docking a star for that, but I ended up ultimately really enjoying it. And I still think that, you should go out and read it. I really thought that it was very educational, and it was educational in a way where it's not something that you would be able to pick up off of a shelf easily. It's not really a topic where you can just go to the library and find information on it easily. So I would highly recommend the book still, even though I thought that it had some flaws to it. So the next book that I want to talk about is actually a short story, and it's called Hearts and Hands, and it's by O. Henry. And this was another audiobook that I listened to. It was only maybe 15 minutes at most. It was really well done. I think that it was probably written a long time ago. I'm not sure when, maybe like early 1900s or late 1800s. But it follows the story of this woman, and she's on this train, and these two men appear on the train, and they're both handcuffed together. And she realizes that one of them is a marshal, and she used to know the marshal from back in one of her old hometowns. which she found to be very interesting, and so she strikes up this conversation with them and they get to know each other. They go through the train ride and everything is progressing fine and they're having this great conversation, and the guy next to him, who is essentially his prisoner, he ends up, just saying little things here and there, so it's very, I guess it's almost abnormally lifelike in a way. I really enjoyed the writing of it because it did keep me engaged on a topic that I felt would normally be kind of boring, but it's definitely one of those books where you don't see the end coming, and the story ended up ultimately being really good and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving the short story 3 stars. I really enjoyed the ending of it specifically, but it wasn't something where I was necessarily blown away with it. I still think it's worth reading and I still really liked it, but I don't know, it just kind of depends on what your tastes are. Like, if you're somebody that really likes short stories, I would recommend it, but if you're somebody who needs a little bit more substance to your stories, then you can go and read something that's a little bit longer. But anyway, I really enjoyed both of these books, and I'll put them down below in the description box, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!